The consumer sees you as a leader, obviously, because this person is teaching the people that I'm maybe considering hiring. To be a really great real estate agent, to be really, really good, you've got to be emotionally intelligent. The life you're living, you're choosing. The life you're living, you're choosing.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Remington Ramsey. Top 5% globally of all podcasts. That's exciting news. It's because of people like you who share this with one person. That is my ask. If you get one nugget or one thing, whoever you think about when you listen to this show, send it to that person. Today, my guest is Brittany Pino of the Baton Rouge Real Producers Market. How you doing, Brittany?
I'm so good. Thanks for having me.
Brittany, you were recommended by multiple of my publishers. You are the 2-year running Broker of the Year in Baton Rouge, which is voted on not only by the Real Producers community, but your peers. Your story is phenomenal, and it starts way before 2020. But if we just start in 2020, you opened your own brokerage while a single mom homeschooling, and that was the first year you personally made over $1 million in commissions amidst all the craziness that was happening. You're a true success story, and a lot has happened since then, but we're going to dig into all the things that it comes with facing single mom in real estate. So let's dig in. You personally have been in real estate for you were a single agent for 14 years at a brokerage before you started, right?
Yep. And then even a little bit before that, but yeah. And then I opened my brokerage for actually crazy time flies, 5 years in June. This year it'll be 5 years.
So why on earth, with all the craziness happening in your own personal life, would you say, hey, on top of this, I'm going to start my own brokerage?
Well, really, it was kind of an easy decision for me. At the time, I already had the admin, videographers, runners. I really kind of had my own operation running under the broker umbrella. And it wasn't on the immediate agenda or the plan to run out and open my own brokerage. It was just timing. The broker came to us in January of 2020, was like, hey, we're going to be moving like office buildings, physical location. And I was like, well, where? And he was like, well, we don't know yet. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was busy. It's like, this is spring market. What do you mean? And so I just made a decision. I was like, am I going to go or do I do my own thing? And I just thought I was going to broker my own transactions. And when I left, it wasn't to hire agents. It was really just to say, take my operation I kind of already had and just do my own thing. So that was really what kind of started this thing with the whole brokerage.
It's amazing what happened in that first year when your back was up against the wall. And that's what I think is interesting about a lot of the stories that we have on this show is like success was birthed from having your back against the wall. And so kind of a different take on that. How do people dig in and find that grit that even if they don't have extremely hard trials happening that they overcome? So if you're someone who's in real estate and you're thinking to yourself, wow, what amazing odds Brittany faced and that she came out on top. Honestly, I'm just over here just living life day to day. It's almost like they need to hit rock bottom to find that fire inside. Like, how do you turn that on if your back is not against the wall?
Yeah. So if you're not going through a challenge, things that life throws at you and you think things seem to be like plugging along safely and comfortably, I think that's kind of the danger zone. That when you're in your place of comfort, you're not growing. And so if my recommendation is like, how do you really find that grit and really start to, you've got to put yourself under a little bit of pressure. And in that is kind of taking some risk, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone. It immediately makes me think of this saying about Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it says, unless you do something beyond what you have already mastered, you will never grow. So I used that. It was kind of like, I read it years ago when I bought my first house. I mean, this was like, 2005. And I read that and I was like, that is so true. And I just have carried it with me. I'm like, I have mastered this. I don't want to live Groundhog Day. I'm doing this thing. I guess I don't like to be bored. I do this to myself. It's like self-inflicted pain.
Yeah. Well, you said you're a calculated risk taker. Was that where that started?
when I was 20 and I was in college, I'm like, what do I want to do with my life? This is kind of small town. I feel like there's something more. And gosh, I was young. I was 18, 19 years old in college. And I was like, I'm moving. I'm just going to pack all my stuff. I'm going to leave this small town of Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and I'm moving to California. I'm moving. I'm out of here. Parents are like, what? I did. That wasn't very calculated. That was young.
Yeah. So
It
you
was
learned the
more
hard
like
way.
pack everything and just do it, And so I started, I guess that's kind of like the first one that I remember. Another one was, I was working an on-site sales job when I first started real estate, getting paid a salary. I was super young, was like 20 years old selling. And I was like, I'm going to buy a first house. Well, I don't remember if it was like right before or after, but I quit that job like 2 weeks before or 2 weeks after. And I bought a house. Like here I am now with a mortgage and essentially don't have a job. But I was like, God's got me. I got this. Unless you do something beyond what you've already mastered, you will never grow. And I was just like, I'm trusting this. I'm going to take the leap and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do my part. You can't just, take a risk and not show up big. And so that's kind of that piece of your back's against the wall, self-inflicted pain.
What in your life attracted you to real estate in that moment?
You know, real estate, actually, when I moved to California and I had a friend who I visited, her brother-in-law. I was like, what's the relation? It's her sister's husband. It's her brother-in-law. And so I went and visited them. I was lonely out in California. So I drove to San Francisco, spent, a week with them just to hang out with them and their kids. And I was standing in the kitchen with Scotty and I'm like, I'm trying to think like what I can do. Like, what's my career? What is my next move? And he's like, have you ever thought about real estate? And I was like, what the heck is that? I was like, what is that? So I was like, what do you do? Like, I mean, I knew what real estate was, but like, what as a real estate agent do they do? And so I started to research it. I'm like, oh my God, like I was in college and I really couldn't pick a major. I was like, I want to do sales and PR and run my own business and I like marketing and maybe I want to be an attorney or a teacher, psychologist. And I don't want to pick some things, all this. And then when I researched real estate, I'm like, holy cow, like you get to do everything, all of these things in one thing. So I was like, that's when I decided. I was like, real estate is made for me. And so that's when I came home from California and was like, I'm going to do real estate.
Do you think, so you obviously found success there and that was right for you. Do you think some people are stuck in the wrong career path because they haven't chosen the industry that supports where their success will ultimately come from?
Yes, for sure. I think that's.
How do you identify that?
Well, years ago, I mean, there's a lot of them now, and I wouldn't be able to give a name of it, but there's those things where they evaluate like your personality type, what you're good at, your strengths and weaknesses, and ask you a whole bunch of random questions, and then like produces this report, And I had remember taking those in college, like just to learn, like, and I knew what I was good at. I started working at a very young age. I was always like great work ethic. I grew up with horses. I was like doing barns and barrel racing when I was a kid, but then I got a job as soon as somebody would hire me, working retail, and I was just always out there. I knew I was good in sales. I knew I was good with people. And so I knew things I liked and enjoyed. And I think that's really important that people don't just get a job that just produces a paycheck, because then it's like, you get one life. Where's the thrill in that? Like, what do? You got to love what you're doing. And so I think to find something you're good at is enjoyable, when you really feel good about your work and you're confident and you feel like you're growing. I think that so many people probably just have a job to have a job,
Well, now you speak a lot about that. I've followed you a little bit on your socials, and it seems like you have a balance of content that is geared towards the consumer, but then also a lot of content that's geared towards agents. How do you find the balance there as because you're motivating both sides. You're talking about life and excitement and again, success within everyone's endeavors. How do you balance that when you're deciding what you're going to speak about?
I was actually worried about that change in messaging. Originally I was like, oh God, I'm like, talk to the consumer. They're going to think I don't sell real estate anymore, things like that. But really the change was beneficial, because when I started talking to agents who are in my industry, I'm speaking to them because it's like, hey, I've been where you are. I can help you. I want to be a lighthouse for you. like 21 years of this, like I promise you, more than likely I've dealt with it or can give you some direction on it, right? Whether it's doing it, in challenging times and life events and whatever it is. And so I wanted to speak to people who I feel like I could directly impact. But then in doing that, I think that one, the consumer sees you as a leader, obviously, because like this person is teaching the people that I'm maybe considering hiring, right? So that's not a bad thing. And then the other is I think people just watch everything, because what I like to show, if I'm going to put on social, I like to show a little bit of everything. I don't want to just be like all business all the time. I do show the other life things. I'm a mom. We have a farm. I'm married. We travel, certainly running my business and have a cute little dog. He's hiding in the background back here. But I mean, I like to show a little bit of everything, just showing up personal as you are. And you're building in real estate. People are going to work with people they know, like, and trust. Right. And so social media is that vehicle to build that parasocial relationship, to show who you are, what you're about, things that you're interested in. And I just show up as I am. And so I think it has positively impacted my business, kind of shifting my messaging to agents. And there are now kind of like really, I'm a broker now. Originally, when I started my firm, it was like, I'm going to just broker my own transactions. I wasn't planning on hiring an agent. I swear. I was like, I don't even want agents around here. No agents allowed. Took me a while to like decide to bring somebody in. They actually reached out to me. And most of the agents that have joined to this day have been ones that have reached out to me directly, but we're particular on who we bring in. But anyway, now I'm a broker. I'm attracting agents. Like I can help you. I've been there, and that's really what I'm super passionate about. Like I did the thing. I grew the team. I did the sales. $1 million, 100 homes in a year, making $1 million. Single mom, like selling all. I sell luxury homes. I can work with developers. I've got a lot of notches in my belt. And it's always that push, like that growth, that entrepreneur spirit. It's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And now I think.
So if you were just doing that over and over again, you'd get tired of it?
Yeah, absolutely. If I do anything over and over and over again, I get tired of it. It's where that self-inflicted pain.
It seems like that's where a lot of leaders get to, is to the point where like, yeah, I mean, and in most models, I found that you actually take a pay cut if you go the leadership route. Like you could probably make more money doing the thing in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases. And so you're taking a pay cut for more passion and more fulfillment in that leadership role. You mentioned a couple times growing up on horse farms, and this is still a ranch, still is your hobby. What have you learned from growing up on the horse farm? How has that taught you and related to your success in business?
Oh God, that's a good one. So we just bought a farm again. Gosh, it's not even been a whole year. And so I had horses when I was a kid, 12, 13. I was competitive riding and things like that. And I haven't since. I had a horse that got an illness. She had to be put down. It was pretty traumatic at the time. And I walked away from it all, and I just stayed out of it until recently. And it was really a lot of push from my husband. Like, I want to do this thing, this extracurricular thing. And now we have 5 horses and 2 baby goats.
That blew up fast.
It just went really fast. And what does it teach me? Emotional intelligence is one of the biggest things I think that you get from working with equine. I mean, when you are working with a horse, they are all feel. You can't show you're frustrated or, from the control. You can't control them, right? You really can't control them. They're an animal with their own mind, their own thinking. And so same thing, like when you're riding, if you're scared, they feel it. Horses can sense your heartbeat from like 15 feet away, whether you're scared, whether you're going to be mean. So they're prey animals. And so they're very in tune to their surroundings. And so you develop a lot of emotional intelligence. And then I think the other piece is like a 3-dimensional life for me, where it is really a place where I can go to reset. Like the only place on the planet in the last 21 years I'm doing real estate. I have traveled a ton. that all just follows you. It's right there. But this has been a place where I can really kind of like disconnect and just be grounded. I'm outside with the animals. It's peace,
Let's talk
tranquility.
about that emotional intelligence. So you said that you can't show strong emotions in dealing with a horse. Is that because they'll overreact if you overreact, I'm
Sure.
guessing, or something?
Yes.
So if you apply that to real estate, either in leadership or even just a single sale, we've all got those horror stories of how things just blew up out of control, and a lot of it was because of emotions and ego. If someone were to apply the same type of level-headedness, a lot of deals wouldn't go south, and a lot of people wouldn't get hurt. It's really funny how, like, one instance, I mean, you even mentioned this in your own life, one single negative experience with putting a horse down made you step away from it for all those years. You decided to get back into it. What was it like psychologically dealing with the emotion of overcoming the fact? I mean, you stepped away because it was so traumatic. How did you overcome trauma? Because limited beliefs is something that is an overarching theme, I think, on this show, even, where it's like, this is going to happen again. This is what happened last time. Like, how do you conquer that?
Yeah. I think it is going through those hard times. Like I would name that as kind of a pivotal, challenging moment in life. The divorce. To me, those were lessons in letting go, and allowing things to be and accepting things as they are. That we're not in control. You can control the controllables, but ultimately you don't control much. And so it's kind of like exercising a muscle, right? If you've had to do some letting go, it does become a little bit easier for things to kind of, okay, well, I've been here before. Right. And so it does improve your emotional intelligence, and I don't react. And that does help you in transactions. And I think it also is a huge thing and a big piece of what I help our agents with. To be a really great real estate agent, to be really, really good, you've got to be emotionally intelligent.
Mm-hmm. Is that something that can be taught? What if you're just not? What if you're starting at zero? You are not emotionally intelligent. You make bad decisions. You fly off the handle. How do you exercise that? How do you learn how to become emotionally intelligent? Because I don't subscribe. I don't subscribe to this. Like, you're either born with it. Like, there's a lot of cliche sayings out there. Like, it doesn't build character or reveals character. Well, something has to build character. There has to be a way that you can learn and switch. And I don't think it necessarily has to be a life-altering event for you to stop being a knucklehead. I think it can be taught. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you disagree?
Oh, I can answer that. I think that accountability. I think that having a mentor that truly wants the best for you, that really cares, that wants to see you do well, can actually tell you like it is. And so I have agents here that have came in and have like that kind of hot button trigger. And it's in those moments where I have to like talk them off the ledge. Like, I can't, just like with a horse, if the horse is freaking out, I can't freak out too. I have to remain calm. I have to say, okay, let's look at this. Right. And then I get them calm and say, okay, here's what I saw. Are you open to feedback?
Are you open to feedback? That's a disarming sentence.
Absolutely. Always ask permission. Right. Always ask permission. I don't tell people what to do. I think it's a lot of the growth in that and becoming emotionally intelligent. People have to self-discover. You can't just be like, you should do this and you should do that, and that's what you should do, and you didn't do it right, and that's how you do it. That's not how you do it. That doesn't work. They have to self-discover. And so by a series of questions, right? Are you open to feedback? Can you give me some feedback? Okay. What about this? What was the outcome that you desired going into that? Did you get the outcome you were looking for? Okay. What do you think that you could have done differently to change that outcome? Then I've got their attention.
They want to grow first. You gotta be open to growth in order to do this. Like, that's the mark of someone who's like going south, or someone who's going to figure it out, is like the way they deal with feedback. I've seen that time and time again. Like, if you're stuck in a rut and you refuse to listen to people who are better than you at that thing, or even refuse to believe that they are better, that's like a surefire sign that you're not going to be here long.
Well, really, the things that we look for, one of the main things is like we look for agents who are coachable, who are humble, who do have that grit, who are abundant, who are positive, like have a positive mindset. Like when I am in meeting with a potential agent to come on board, there is a just a myriad of things that I'm looking for them to check those boxes. And that's one of them, taking personal responsibility. Can't always say, well, if they wouldn't. I understand that, but we can't control other people. We can only control ourselves.
Sounds like we're talking to our kids right now.
But I think that the things that I have been through, right, the challenging times, also the experience in sales, I've talked to all the, I've learned in talking to certain clients, like, hey, like don't call them with an inspection response at 8:30 at night. That's a tomorrow call. That's like real estate 101, right? That's our rookie error. Like we're not going to do business late at night because people aren't in a good headspace to make decisions. They're going to be emotional. Know that the seller's going to be emotional when they receive that inspection response. It doesn't matter what freaking time of day it is. So then leave them alone. Let them kick and scream and go through it. And, just those little bitty things. So I think a mentor is huge. It's probably one of the best things I ever did for my business is years ago. And just depending on where I'm at, a mentor who can meet you where you're at is I've always had a coach or a mentor. You've got to have that soundboard. It doesn't matter how great you are. I mean, think about it. NFL, think about Olympic athletes. The best athletes there are have coaches and mentors, and sometimes they have 2 and 3 and 4 of them, right? And so in order to be your best self, I think it's very important to make sure that you have somebody who can kind of hold that mirror in the highest form of love, be holding you accountable because they want what's best for you.
All right, so handle this objection that I've heard before on getting a coach. Even if they don't articulate this is why. People who've had a coach in the past spend a lot of money, because typically coaches are, especially if they're good, and they feel like they didn't get a lot out of it is one thing I hear, or I spent so much money and I could have done the same without them. So how do you handle that objection? How do you choose the right coach?
So I think that it is important to pick the right mentor, the right coach. I think that personality is huge. Has that person achieved what it is you're looking to achieve?
That's big.
Do they have other people that they have coached and mentored that you look up to? Can you see the results and the growth of those other people? Right? Is the proof in the pudding, right? Is it like success, evidence of success? Like where else? Who else have they helped? So I think that's huge, and just making sure it's kind of a same page conversation. I think it's like, okay, has this person been where you want to go? I mean, I think maybe a lot of times they're hiring coaches and these people have failed in our world. They're like, well, I guess I'll just go be a coach. Well, don't hire that person. So
Oh, it's interesting. I mean, I said when I was growing up in my 20s, some of my friends got into financial planning and they were, cold calling for business, and you have to start somewhere, and some of them made it, but a lot of them didn't. And I think the model was what killed them, because who is going to sign up with a financial planner with a guy who doesn't have the money that they're promoting that they're going to get you, or, done the thing. They're in life just with you. It makes no sense to me, but I think some of the models that do make sense is where they bring on an understudy and you're a part of a team until you actually acquire the skills and the experience, which I think is to bring a full loop, kind of what you were talking about in terms of recruiting and being a leader in the industry. You've done the thing. So now you're attracting people who, especially single moms, are probably attracted to you in a period of their life where they're probably struggling at an all-time high. And you're proof in the pudding of having your highest commissions ever that year, almost out of necessity, is probably speaks volumes to people who are struggling but trying to figure out this industry.
yeah, I think it's anybody trying to figure out this industry. I mean, for the longest time, I led the way. I was outselling teams as a solo agent. My sales were more than theirs, right? I'm like hundreds of millions in sales volume under my belt. So there's not many people in our market that I feel like I couldn't help. You know what I mean? Not many. I mean, there's, You have to, and I'm not saying, hey, use me as a mentor. I'm just saying if somebody is looking for a coach or a mentor, absolutely, like hopefully they've done better than you, right? That they've accomplished the things that you're trying to accomplish. Like if you want to build a team, have they built a team? Right? If you want to go be a real estate broker and leave your current, you want to go be a broker, like have they done that? Have they hired an assistant? Have they closed $1 million? Have they had $100,000 Fridays? I liked $100,000 Fridays. It's like, I'm just saying, like, have they done the thing? So
Yeah.
that's huge, I think.
So Gina Miller, who is the publisher of Baton Rouge Real Producers, sent me a couple notes about you because she hosted an event and you spoke at it. I don't know if it was impromptu or planned, but it sounds like you just went off. And what your topic was getting your life right to find excellence. Essentially, I'll read tidbits of her text to me so that I can properly ask this next question that I want to ask you. She said, you didn't tiptoe around feelings. You called agents out not to be excuse-minded, live with excellence, no alcohol, focus on waking up early and fitness, and then a couple other things. There's a huge emphasis on taking care of your body and your minds, but especially like physical exercise and the decisions that you're making around your health. Why does that matter? These questions. So listen, when I ask these questions, I know everyone listening knows where they think we're going, but I also know a lot of them are not doing this thing. And my hope is when we ask this question a different way from a different person, someone that can maybe speak to them, it will impact them in a way, it will impact us in a way, because I do the same thing. This isn't me speaking at people. I'll listen to somebody. It's just like your parents. You listen to your parents, you don't do what they say, and then that one friend says the same thing. You're like, okay, I guess I'm going to do that now. But back to the original question, why is it important to take care of your body first when you're trying to be successful in anything, let alone business?
I think the answer is a list of things. It's not just one thing. Okay. It's not so you can have like a nice booty and a six pack. Okay. It's not the way that somebody appears. And certainly, well, let's take a look at that. I'm saying that it's not, but it kind of is. Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of about the booty.
It's not really about
booty
the
and
booty.
Six pack.
It's not about the booty or the six pack, but if you are trying to be believable, if you are a leader, if you are trying to be successful, I'm sorry, this is going to be very direct, and I wasn't even this direct when she spoke. We're on a podcast, just me and you. But if you have, I know it's everybody, but if you're overweight, let's go there, okay? If you're overweight, it's very hard to sell somebody on discipline, on consistency. Those are the things that it takes to be successful in anything that you do, is consistency and discipline and all that. So to me, it's misaligned, or it lacks integrity. If you are coming in as an overweight person and saying, this is the things you need to do, no, it's like, okay, you're not really showing me as an example. You got to be a leader, lead by example, right? Leader, it's not like do as I say, not as I do. I don't believe that I don't think that's a great leader. What makes a great leader?
What's crazy is that it actually works. I'm hearing you talk about this, and I totally agree with everything you're saying. But there are circles in which you'll see a motivational speaker or a pastor who's severely overweight, and people, it is do as I say, not as I do. And some people actually follow that. It is crazy to me, but it's way more believable to me that you're doing the thing you're preaching.
That's just one thing, right? That's one thing. And it's not the end all be all. Hey, you can't be successful if you're overweight. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying as a leader, that's something that me personally, I have my own personal beliefs and values, and everybody's entitled to their own, right? Right. These are mine. You can have yours, and I respect everybody's, and without any judgment. These are just the ones that I carry and hold near and dear to me. The other piece is the list, right? Whenever I wake up early, right, I have a little bit more time to kind of like start my day, coffee. I don't just like my favorite, he's my favorite, Nate Bargatze. He's a comedian. I don't know, he's so funny. He's like, I sleep in, and like when I wake up, like everything is happening.
Yeah.
I'm like, No, I cannot. But as a single mom, like it was really important for me that I don't just wake up and I'm like, oh, going right in. You've got to give yourself time to like wake up. To me, I like the gym. I like a 5 a.m. gym session. I know there's a noticeable difference. Like if I don't go to the gym in the morning, I feel tired. I feel sluggish. I don't feel as like I'm in positive mindset as I am when I start my day in the gym. I'm like, woo, come back. Even if it's just a little 30-minute, go walk or do something. I'm not telling people have to do that. That's what I do. And that's what has helped me because I feel like it helps me start my day. Then I'm making better decisions throughout the day. I'm in
Yep.
a positive mindset.
Man, that's so true. I tell you what, like this is a no judgment zone. I know we have strong takes on this, and I've been both. I've had the discipline and body that I want, and I've had the lack of discipline and not the body that I want, if we're talking specifically about that right now. And it's crazy how one choice, you mentioned in the pre-show, you said choices, what'd you say? Choices, do you remember what your exact quote was? Choices, how choices impact your future was one of the directions which we're actually talking about. And I know that if I wait, I know for me personally, if I wait too long to eat, the food that I decide to eat gets worse and worse for me because of the ease of making it or getting it, or just my hunger goes towards naturally junk food if I don't be intentional. And so if I do that for lunch, then I'm not going to feel good enough to actually work out. So then I don't work out. And then it's just a spiral effect of decisions that at the end of the day, for me, I don't appreciate. They're not the decisions I wanted to make, and I don't feel well. So I totally subscribe to what you're saying. But again, like this is a no judgment zone. We all do this. I think the leaders that you're talking about have found a way to be more disciplined than others. And that's why I choose to follow them.
Yeah, it's a common denominator among leaders is people like the real high performers in life, I do believe have a regimen around their health and wellness, what they put in their body, what they do, being physically active. This goes for everybody. The life you're living, you're choosing. The life you're living, you're choosing, because if you don't like it, you can make different choices, period. If you don't like your job, if you don't like your where you are with health and wellness, if you can make a different choice. And that's where I have like, I guess you said, what were Gina's words? I don't know. She just said, I couldn't.
Oh, not be excuse minded, live with excellence.
Yeah, I mean, it could be an excuse. Like, well, I can't because it's excuses. Everybody has the power to choose, right? Everybody has the power to choose.
I love that quote. I wrote it down. The life you are living, you are choosing. That's a great way to end. Where can we find you, Brittany? So a lot of this stuff I've seen you talk about, and if we want more of what Brittany's wisdom on socials are, where do we find you?
So I'm on big presence on Facebook. So just Brittany Pino on Facebook, a little bit on Instagram. Those are really where you can find like the real me showing up as I am, taking a deep dive into my life and business and all of that. BrittanyPino.com. It's a website if you want to get in touch with me.
It's awesome. And I've heard you speak a couple of times. I know you're speaking on a few panels coming up, so we'll be sure and pump that out as well. This has been Brittany Pino on the Real Producers Podcast. Guys, if you got anything from this, please send it to one person. Whoever you're thinking about right now, they need to hear it. So send them this episode. If you want to impact who we have on the show or what we talk about, email us at podcast@realproducersmag.com. We'll see you at RP Elevate this September.